So, speaking about getting, looking at your deals, and you have a deal come in, how long do you generally take in order, like that first round, and using, using different metrics? I know out on Bigger Pockets and other websites, people talk about the 1% rule, the 2% rule. Do you use any of those? And how long does it take you to do your first analysis to get it past kind of some basic requirements? And then the second phase analysis to really dig in and see if this is a deal you really want. What does that process and timeline look like for you?
It's really pretty short for me. I mean, I would say the initial analysis is 3 to 4 minutes, and that's literally me using the same exact spreadsheets I've been using for years. It's mostly because I know and understand my market, right? I've been operating in the same market for, I mean, the better part of a decade and a half right now. So, I'm just doing the same thing over and over again. I think, I read somewhere a long time ago, you can either be, kind of rich and entertained, or excuse me, like poor and entertained, or rich and kind of bored. And I think what that means is, I'm relatively successful because I do the same thing over and over and over again, right? I mean, I don't really change up much of what I'm doing. And I know it well enough that I don't need to take a long time to analyze deals. I'm doing the same thing I did down the street to a new building. I'm doing the same thing now around the corner. It's the
Yeah.
same exact process. I know what the rental market is. I know what my taxes are going to be. I know what my insurance is going to be. I know almost the mortgage numbers from doing these over and over again in my head. Can estimate what a $500,000 or $600,000 mortgage is going to be, taxes and insurance, and kind of spit that number off my head. So the process is relatively short because I'm in a very narrow market. I've chosen my property type. I've chosen my specific market and know it inside and out. I would say 3 to 4 minutes to decide, is this something I want to look at further? And then maybe another couple hours to kind of dive into the next phase of, who is the owner? What did they buy the property for? When did they buy it? Can I find old photos on MLS? Were there prior Zillow listings of rentals for that building? Who is the agent? Does the agent know what they're doing in terms of representing investors?
Yeah.
Is there any property history there with this thing going off the market and coming back on the market? Because that'll give me a good idea of whether I can probably, I wouldn't say lowball, but negotiate the price a little bit more if they've had trouble in the past getting the deal done. But I would say no more than 2 to 3 hours really diving in to make a decision about whether I want to pursue this. And then I would say the last thing that's part of it, it's kind of part of deal analysis, is looking at the current mortgage market as well. And just basically saying, is this something I'm going to have to put 20% down on, or 30% down, or something in between? How many deals do I have currently pending that are under construction or open that haven't been fully occupied? Is there a lender out there right now? So it's almost my lending analysis
Yeah.
that comes next. And I think I make decisions partly on the deal analysis, and then what does the current lending market look like? And a lot of times, if I don't think that the lending market is favorable for me, that is a deal where I would say, this is a good deal still. Maybe I go find a partner for this particular property, someone who has a little bit more availability, so to speak, somebody who doesn't maybe have 3 or 4 projects pending,
Yeah.
and that can actually get this through a lending pipeline, if that makes
Right.
sense.
No, it does. That makes total sense. I mean, we on our end, I think our initial underwrite begins with asking price and saying, is this even? Because, like, everybody should be everybody should be focused on markets that they know they want to be in, and becoming a master of that market, so they know block by block what rents are, what the property values are, what the construction of those properties are. Because, again, as cities grow out and towns, expand, different parcels get built or different blocks are built in different segments of time. That's why you'll go through and see some sections of a city be all brownstones and
Mhm.
beautiful, and they're built very well. Where then you might go into another end of a city and you'll see that everything's just stick built 2x4 1920s construction, and it's hot garbage, especially when you start trying to take them apart and fix them. So I think first and foremost for us is price, and say, okay, well, and then second part of that is, who's the seller, what's their story. We always try to find out as much as we can about the seller and what the story is, because price is just one part of a deal in a negotiation, right? So there are so many other factors that generally go into it. And what's tough is that when you are shopping off of MLS, that's why shopping on MLS gets difficult, because of the fact that it's out there, and you don't really ever truly get to know the story behind the seller. It's just a price, and it's a marketplace. I can't take it. This thing just did it again.
Did it record me though, or
Oh yeah, no, it got all of you.
Okay.
So 3, 2, 1. I'd say our process in deal analysis is, first we look at the price, and is the price realistic for the neighborhood based on its existing condition? Like, what kind of condition is the property in? What's the price point? How realistic is it? That's number one. Number two, we always try to figure out, who's the seller. Let's look at public record. Who is it? Do we know anyone that knows them? We'll do a little bit of social searching and background, but sometimes sellers are, especially right now, they're a lot older. They may not be out on social or something like that, but we try to maybe figure out who their family members are, and can we figure out if we know someone who might know someone who knows them, and kind of understand what's going on. So because relationships drive this business. I know we've touched on that before in earlier podcasts. So those are two of the first things that we try to do. It's not always successful trying to figure out what's going on with the seller unless you can get face to face with them, right? So those are kind of our first two. If the price doesn't match, even come close to what we're looking at, we don't even pay attention to it. The third piece is just obviously understanding where it is, based on price, what the rents are, and what's going on. The other piece to that is, with the building that's being sold, we also look at the fact, like, can we increase the bedroom count? Can we increase the density within a property and continue to rent it? Sometimes some of these 3 families that we all look at, they're double bays, and they have a formal dining room, an eat-in kitchen, and a living room. Well, you could take that formal dining room and convert it to a bedroom very, very easily. So, and you can take a 2-bedroom and make it a 3-bedroom. So we look for opportunities like that as well, because that will help, offset some of a higher price point. So, and that, generally speaking, those first 3 indicators will be, maybe 5-10 minutes. Because like you said, we're always we know the neighborhoods we're looking in. We generally understand where things are located and what the rental values are. Getting to understand who that seller is maybe takes a little more time to kind of figure out, but we don't spend too much time on it if we don't think we have any connection. And then third piece is, what if it passes that muster and we take a little bit deeper of a dive, we'll start to, like you said, really dig into the numbers and say, okay, what kind of condition is this building in? Can we just get a direct appointment with the seller? Let's go walk the building and look at what really needs to be done to it. So then once we kind of are able to walk it, if your floors are sloping and the bathrooms look like they're from 1970 and the kitchen looks like it hasn't been touched since the 80s, it's just, okay, now you really start ramping up. Okay, what's it really going to cost us to fix this place and to make it desirable for somebody who wants to pay market rate, that's looking to spend, I guess, I don't want to call it top of the market, but I call it market rate. It's not a subsidized rent payment, but it's a market payment, and market tenants expect better than a 1970s kitchen. So
right.
So that's, and then that part of it might take us another half hour, 2 hour to really dig in and figure out, okay, this is what we're looking at, and then we try to start our negotiations.
Yeah, I mean, the timing is important. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're brand new to the business, you want to, and I know most people probably hate doing this, but analyze as many deals as you possibly can, even if you're not going to buy them. Just hop on MLS and hop on, realtor.com or wherever you find your, potential listings, and just analyze those deals and figure out, is it a good deal? I used to play this game with myself all the time when I didn't have the money to buy something or didn't have the resources and didn't know how. You would analyze a deal and I would say, this one's going to go quickly. And I would check back in a week and see if it was under agreement or see if it was gone. And then
Yeah.
I would say, this one's probably going to sell above market value or below market value or whatever, or above asking price, should I say. And, check back in 45 days to see if you were right or you were wrong and see what the performance of. And the reason you want to play that game and have that analysis is because you see what Andrew and I just said, and it's 3 to 4 minutes and it's a couple hours, it's a few days. You're not going to be able to compete with someone else if you're taking 3 or 4 days to analyze a deal, right? I mean, especially if it's out there and it's out there in the public. If you're taking 3 or 4 days, I've already got it under contract long before you even, I'm making a decision the same day, 20 minutes, a half an hour after, or an hour after I've actually walked through the property. The property is now locked up. If you're sitting at home, analyzing this thing for 3 days, you've missed out, especially in a hot market. So timing and
yeah, I apologize for interrupting, but if you are brand new to the market and it takes you that long to do it, don't worry about it. It took me that long to do it. It took me in the beginning to really get your head wrapped around all those figures and numbers and how they interact and how it all plays off of each other. It takes a little while to get your head wrapped around it, but once you do, that's when the wheels start spinning and you really begin to understand things on the fly more.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So, solid point.